Welcome everyone. The data management as far as monitoring and evaluation is the premises of today's videos out here. Welcome to this small and short video for the day. Let me give you an introduction. What are we looking at as the data management are concerned? Remember, monitoring and evaluation are inseparable part of an internal management tools. It's just invaluable. For internal management tools, the monitoring and evaluation will give you a proper sense of direction of any project per se. If you don't assess how well you are doing against the targets and indicators, you may go on using resources to no useful ends without changing the situation you have identified as a problem at all in the first place. Now, this is very important per se. Monitoring and evaluation is important if you are setting up a system for data collection. During the planning phase of a projector's organization, you want to analyze data, collect them, and probably through a monitoring process. You're concerned with how efficiently and how effectively you are working around it. Most important. If you reach a stage on your project, or perhaps in your life of your organization when you have to think around it, probably there comes in every point where you need to ponder over things and ask yourself whether you are doing on the right thing or this was what you have dreamt always of doing around it. So it would be useful to evaluate what impact the work is having. Key stakeholders ask for evaluation of your organization from time to time. It might be a boss, it might be the different stakeholder, it might be a shareholder, it might be an annual general meeting of your company that goes around it. So monitoring and evaluation is absolutely important. Remember, it's all about data collection during the planning phase, during the execution phase, and you need to understand, study those data, concern how effectively and efficiently you're working around with it. So if you do not measure result, you can never differentiate success from failure. If you do not see success, you will not be able to reward it, can you? And if you do not reward success, you will only be pushing failures, not pushing yourself in the right direction. You will always meet failures and disheartening every now and then. Now, if you cannot see success, you will not be able to learn from it. If you cannot recognize failure, you will not be able to correct it. This is very important. Remember, if things are going and you don't realize that it is actually going wrong, it's like that proverbial story of where you put a frog on a pan of water and slowly heat the water. The frog will always adjust its body temperature to the water, and eventually the frog will die just by boiling, because after a point it will not be able to save itself. So you need to recognize failure, otherwise you will not be able to correct it. If you cannot demonstrate result, you can win shareholder support. That is what we are looking into it. So keep this in mind every now and then. So monitoring, let us understand, monitoring is nothing but a systematic collection of and analysis of information as and when the project goes from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 2 to stage 3 and so on and so forth. So as it processes, the systematic collection and analysis of information happen. It is aimed at improving the efficiency, the effectiveness of a project or organization. It helps to keep the work on track and can let management know when things are going wrong. If done properly, it is an invaluable tool for good management, and it provides a useful base for evaluation. It enables you to determine whether the resources you have been available are sufficient or not. That is what we need to go around it. Whether the capacity you is sufficient or not, it's appropriate or not. What are you doing? Have you already thought it out what you are doing? Have you already planned it out? And is your plan working in the right direction? And that can only be held through and probably made a fact through monitoring process. Let us understand evaluation. The comparison of actual performances impacts the agreed strategic plan, as in what are your targets, what are your goals. So you need to understand those actual performance plan. Remember, evaluation is at the end of an event. It might be episodic, right? It is periodic, as the case said. Looks at what you have said to do, what have you accomplished, and how did you accomplish it. Keep that in mind. It can be formative, taking place during the life of a project or an organization with the intention of improving the strategy or way of functioning of the project or organization. It can also be summative, drawing learnings from a completed project or an organization that is no longer functioning at all and that needs to be understood, taken care of. Let me give you a comparison, a head-to-head comparison between monitoring and evaluation. Remember, monitoring is all about clarifying program objectives, whereas evaluation analyzes why intended results were or were not achieved. So you might have achieved the target or you might have failed to achieve the target. Monitoring is links activities and their resources to objective. Assesses specific causal contribution of activities to result. Translate objectives into performances, indicators and set targets. Examines implementation process is what evaluation is all about. It monitoring is all about collecting data on a routine basis on these indicators, comparing actual results with the target, whereas evaluation is exploring the unintended results. Perhaps at the end of the episode you need to find out what went wrong. Monitoring is reporting the progress to a manager and alert them about the problem, the hiccups, the impediment that they are facing during the day-to-day activity. Evaluation provides lesson, highlights significance, accomplishment or program potential and other recommendation for improvement altogether. What does monitoring and evaluation achieve? Helps you to identify problems and their cause, suggest possible solution to the problem, raises question about assumption, about strategy, pushes you to reflect on where you are going and how are you getting there, provides you with an information and insight, encourages you to act on the information and the insight, increases the likelihood that you will make a positive development eventually. So that is what monitoring and evaluation is all about. It tries to identify the problem, probably tries to also identify the solution thereof, raises flag raises flag for the assumptions, for the strategies. If there are any red flags to be raised, it does. It ponders or it forces you to ponder over the question what is going wrong or probably how can you rectify things. Remember, it gives you an insights to what is happening in the project as such. That is what monitoring and evaluation is all about. It remember, monitoring and evaluation enhances efficacy. Efficacy is nothing but a combination of efficiency, effectiveness, impact and learning. Overall efficacy of an organization of a project improves. It means it increases being an effective, being an efficient, have a positive impact and thereby enhances the learning of the organization, the manager, the stakeholders for every of the project. So who uses the monitoring and evaluation? Definitely yes, the organizational manager. Definitely yes, the different stakeholders. Obviously the financial, the donors, the funding agents altogether, and probably any other interested party thereby. So let us understand the types of evaluation. First and foremost is a self-evaluation. This involves an organization or project holding up a mirror to itself and assessing how long it is doing it, what it is doing, how right it is, what is it tries to achieve, or what else can be done if things are going wrong. So basically, it tries to improve upon the practice. It takes a self-reflective and honest organization to do this effectively. But it can be important learning lessons thereof. Next is the participatory evaluation. This is a form of internal evaluation. The intention is to involve many people with a direct stake in the work as possible. This means project staff and beneficiaries working together on an evaluation, perhaps as the case might be. Rapid participatory appraisal. This is a qualitative way of doing evaluation, semi-structures carried out by interdisciplinary teams over a short period of time. It uses a starting point to understand the local situation. Remember the local situation, it is only the wearer who knows where the shoe is pinching. It is quick, it is cheap, it is useful way to gather information. Remember, you should always start collecting data from the center of the event, from the fulcrum. It is very difficult to collect data from and outside of the ring. Involves the use of secondary data, direct observations, semi-structured interviews, key informants, group interviews, games, diagrams, maps, calendar. It is flexible and interactive as the case might be, as and when it is going around it. The fourth is an external evaluation. Now, this is a time where it's not about internal evaluation. It is the point where an external evaluation, a person or an event, an agency who can keep a bird's eye view. It gives you a ring side view what has been done, and should be done by an outsider team. Interactive evaluation. This involves the interaction between both the outside evaluator and the internal evaluator of the organization. They can compare the notes. They can understand the perspective better, what can be done and how, why was it done. Remember, external evaluator and internal evaluator, their views might be different because their point of view is completely different. So they need to sit down and notify one another, sensitize one another of what things can be improved, how things are going wrong. Sometime an insider may include and be included in the evaluation team. Planning for monitoring and evaluation is all about your process, the entire process of the project. It should be the first thing that a project plans to do for. It is very difficult to go back and set up monitoring and evaluation system once everything has begun, and that becomes very dicey things to go around it. You need to begin gathering information about performances in relation to the target from the word go, and right at the beginning that we talk about it. The first information gathering should be in fact take place when you need to do an assessment thereby, and that is what we are looking for it. First, all the stakeholders should understand the utility of the project, the goals of the project, the relevance of the project to the organization. Remember, the core goals is what is important. You need to understand the values that we are working around it, how relevant it is to the organization, to the society, to the community. Understand who are the key beneficiaries there are of their interest in the project, their expectation, their power of the project process, and the outcomes. Map out the project processes against the outcomes thereby, and that is very important. So the key evaluation question is the why question. What causes the change of monitoring? We need to ask this thing: why are the changes being done? What are the changes being done, and why is the most important question. Next best important question is how. What are the sequences of change that you are encompassing or perhaps contemplating? What are the sequence of the process that leads to a successful outcome? Then, as the compliance or accountability question, this is always a government issues, probably the regulatory issues, probably did the promised activities actually take place as they were planned? Process implementation question, was the implementation process follows as anticipated? With what and what are the consequences thereof? A small, simple pictographical representation is what we are looking into it. Remember, this is implementation and this is result. So implementation is all about input, activity, and an output. That's your within the company that we're talking about implementation. But results are outcomes, how people are perceiving things and the impact that it has it. So yes, the implementation needs monitoring, the means and strategies, where the results needs to be monitored, thereby what is having an impact. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the very end.